And then it turned out to be one of those random days. You know how sometimes you'll like go and, Google gets all secure and it goes, oh, by the way, you need to re-sign into all your stuff again.
So congratulations.
I know. So I feel so secure now. You're listening to the Music Manument podcast for July 10th, 2016. Learn more at musicmanument.com. Hi, and welcome to another Music Manument. I am Tom, and on today's show, we have visiting us again, Kevin MacLeod. He was on the show like 3 years ago, so we had a lot of catching up to do. We talk about some of the work that he's doing. We also talk a lot about MIDI production and actually the fact that he records stuff live sometimes while on Twitch TV, which I found kind of a fascinating subject. So we talk about that a little bit too. It was a fun conversation all around. So here's my interview with Kevin MacLeod starting right now. So it's been a couple years, actually, my God, 3 years, almost 3 years since we've had you on the show.
That's crazy.
I know. I feel like it was yesterday.
I could have been. I'm bad with time.
I know. So am I. But we had you on in October 2013. So
okay.
I'm hoping that lots of things have happened since then. So
I'm sure many things have.
So let's start with what's going on right now. You've got some new stuff that you've been posting on your site. What's some new music you're working on these days?
Right now, just looking up on my board. I'm working on 3 or 4 video games. 4 or 5 video games is what
Nice.
I'm working on right now. I don't have any films I'm working on, but you know what? That changes month to month. So
does it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you said you're looking at your board. So are you actually doing some sort of like Scrum Agile music management thing, sort of?
I have a program on my computer that puts things that looks like sticky notes on my desktop, and that's my board.
Oh, cool. Nice.
I don't think it's anything so grandiose.
Okay. And how many? So getting lots of projects like that. I mean, how do you manage it? I mean, I'd like to know in the sense like if I ever did get work making music for somebody else instead of just trying to promote it myself. I mean, how do you manage such a thing? How do you organize it all?
It really depends on. I mean, every project's different. Every project has its own personality. They all have their own contact points. And some people are, we need to get this done right away. And then you do that. And some people are like, you're looking at 2-week turnaround between revisions. Mm-hmm. So if I were to tell you that here's the secret to doing it, I would be wrong. You just go with what people give you, and that's all you can do. That's all I do, I guess. Okay. And are you just are people just coming to you on your website and it's just through word of mouth, or how are you getting? Really, it is just that way. Sorry for people listening to this as the audio. He nodded over video. I just realized I responded. I can turn off my video so it'll make it more. No, it's nice because I like being able to make eye contact so I know what's happening. But anyway, yeah, I'm sorry. You were saying. No, that's it. People contact me through my website. They've seen other things I've done. They've apparently enjoyed them. Okay. And then now this is beyond just people using it in the background or Twitch video. Like there are a lot of people out there we've had on the show who are get involved in Creative Commons and are just amazed at like how it gets used in videos and stuff. Now you're actually creating for the videos, so it's a different thing entirely. Right. Yeah. Well, people find me generally because I've been in something that they've seen before. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, I'm doing a thing sort of like this. I would like this guy to do the soundtrack for it. And I'm like, yep, okie dokie, let's go. Now, are you since it's been 3 years, I'm still trying to remember everything we talked about. Are you mainly MIDI based, or how are you writing songs these days? Yeah, it's almost all virtual instruments, right? Okay. And then what sort of software are you using for that? My framework is Logic. If you want to go down deep, a little bit, because I've kind of been messing with MIDI lately. So I'm actually this is very timely because I've been getting into MIDI and I look at it and it's just like, oh, I'm doing great. And then I look at people that actually do it and I'm like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing compared to what these people are. So I would actually really love to hear. Yeah, well, first off, you can catch me on Twitch because every project I do, I pretty much do live on Twitch, and so you can watch like what instruments I'm using, what I'm working. My last episode, I just installed like 4 new pieces of software, and it was just hours of me discovering what the software could do.
Huh.
So, yeah, I've got some. Oh my god. I mean, I need a more specific question. It's like, oh, what do you use for strings? Oh, now I've got an answer.
Okay.
I use Hollywood orchestral strings, and then I use Cinestrings.
Well, okay, let's start with this. So, the thing that I've discovered recently is, now you said you're using Logic. Now, Logic can also be used, if I remember correctly, it's been a long time since I've used it, for multi-layering, for just recording audio itself, like waveforms.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's just a framework. All frameworks pretty much do the same thing, which is everything.
Yeah. And what I discovered, I had never used the add a MIDI track thing before. I knew of MIDI, and what I used to do is I would run MIDI through a machine and then record it as an audio file. Didn't realize that you could actually control it. Now, you have also video on your site. You have one where you're actually showing it's like the little map pattern, or where it looks like one of those like player pianos.
Yeah, it's called the piano roll.
There you go. Yes. Yep. And that's the thing that recently I had discovered, and man, you can get so precise using that thing.
Yeah, you can fix a lot of problems.
and I guess, okay, instead of the question like, what's your setup and things like that. Now, I had to a discussion last week talking about SoundFonts. So I'm assuming that you're generating a lot of SoundFonts for things like this.
I don't even know what that means.
Really?
Generating a sound font. Is that like setting up a sampler with populating a sampler?
It's I guess a sound font is like, say you pull up an organ sort of software program.
Okay.
And it's the sound that will be pre-programmed that it will use. It's kind of like filling it with the notes.
Okay. I would refer to that as a virtual instrument.
Okay.
But okay, SoundFont, got it.
Yeah, and it kind of makes my question moot, because the thing I was saying is that as time has gone on, it's become a pain to try and find them. And I was going to ask if you knew of any good places to find them, but since I just
my god. Okay, hang on. I got a webpage.
Oh, okay.
Let me head over to it. So all right, Realitone. I use those guys. Spitfire.
Ooh.
8DO, 8DIO, Native Instruments, Heaviosity, Cinesample, Sound Iron, Embertone, Sounds Online. They do East West. They do the big stuff. Spectrasonics, Ample. I buy them from a lot of places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that's the thing that I got to try and find, because and also, God, the other part, just like being able to get so just very precise with it. Man, messing with sound files, you can spend a whole day doing that. So you're from what it sounded like, you said your Twitch channel is actually you just following you doing what you're doing, not just playing music.
It's just me working most of the time.
That's crazy. That's what the day and age we live in. I love that.
So yeah, you can just watch me working on like recently I've been doing a thing, and it's like, well, I can't tell you what it's for, but you can you can listen to me do it.
Yeah, I have my friend runs a studio, and he just recently bought a P12, which is essentially a thing that makes noise with a bunch of knobs on it. It's like a Moogish type thing. I don't know.
Okay, sure.
And he was posting it, a video of it. He was just doing like a Facebook live feed or something, and I'm watching it, and it was hypnotizing. But at the same time, I finally responded after like 5 minutes going, what in the hell am I looking at here? But yet it was hypnotizing. And so that sort of thing. Now, how many, how often do you do that?
Well, it's highly variable depending on how much time I have. So I plan on doing it probably, pretty much whenever I'm working.
Okay.
Which would probably be, 5 to 7 times a week.
All right. And then are you there just mainly because you're a lot of the gamers that you work with that's the environment they're in? Is that why you're using Twitch or?
Well, I got into it because I enjoyed watching other people work, and apparently people enjoy watching. A lot of the people that are following me are composers.
Oh.
And it's real interesting because people will be like throwing in some like super technical kibitzing. It's like, oh yeah, go to the leading tone on that 4 chord there, and it'll sound really good. And I'm like, oh, I'll give it a shot.
Huh.
And I get a lot of questions about the process, and it's like, okay, what are you doing there? And then, so I'll explain like, oh, here's how to do the effects chain on something that sounds like this. And it's kind of like working in a collaborative environment, but not really being annoyed by people. Because if you work in like a super noisy environment, you can't actually write music. That's not a thing that can happen. But if you just got, you go and you do your own thing, and then, every minute or so you look over and you look at the chat and see what they're saying, see what questions they're asking. And it's really fun, actually. It makes working a lot more fun.
That's actually really intriguing to me. I like that idea. So so you just work, have it on. Because most people, I've talked to people who are just, they're looking for ways to put video on, and they're always like, how do I make a YouTube video? And everybody thinks about it like, oh, it's got to be the MTV days. You got to orchestrate something and do a video. And I'm like, well, there's live streaming too. There's Periscope and all this stuff. Yeah. And they're like, but I don't know what I should talk about. They think that there's supposed to be something happening, but what they do is what's happening. And you mentioning they're watching it with you and listening to what you're doing and possibly working on something in the background. Who knows what they're doing? Oh
yeah, like a lot of people, it's like, hey, I'm writing documentation for my boring job, and then they just watch me work for some reason, and I don't know why, but everyone has a great time.
Huh? I really like that idea. I'm sorry, my head just started going like, God, that does sound like that would be really fun. I might try that tonight.
Yeah,
I've been like the thing that I've been messing around with. If I were to find some people that do it and they're like, hey, you're doing it wrong. And then I can go, well, how do I do it? No, I really like that idea. That's really cool. So, the lights just turned on in your place. Do you have some sort of automatic timer?
Yeah. Although I have hue lights, but it was getting dark in here. So.
Oh, that was nice. Again, another thing for the audio listeners out there, his lights just turned on.
So you can see my beautiful studio here. It's very nice.
It is nice.
There's fountains in the background. I don't know if you can see those. I've got a pyramid. It's half scale, so it's not quite as big as the Great Khufu Pyramid, but it's nice.
And is that an ocelot?
It is.
Wow, those are so rare.
Yeah, I've got an entire menagerie. Ocelots are diurnal, so they're out right now.
They've it's their feeding time, and they're getting kind of ornery. I get that. Now on your site, one of the things, and I probably mentioned this last time because I think it's genius. Okay. The getting. Do you like that? How I rung it back into the conversation?
It's good. I'm sorry. I've just been watching the ocelots.
They are very distracting.
I know. All right.
So majestic. Now you flummoxed me, or flabbergasted. No, I'm saying wrong words. Now you've got a good thing that is just so simple yet a like slap your forehead type of moment, especially for Creative Commons musicians. Mm-hmm. You have a section that basically is a FAQ for people who will ask you, "Hey, can I really use your music?"
Yes.
For stuff, and you're always. I used to just save one that I'd copy and paste, but then I felt kind of like a jerk because it's like, I'm not even reading what you said. I'm just going, yes. But you have one that explains it all. You even have just put this in there. That's all you need to do. And you kind of map it out for them. And so what made you finally go, I'm going to put that on the site? Or, was it always there?
So first off, you're assuming that it works.
That's a very good point.
And I think I had 6 emails today saying, hey, can I use your music in this project?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, yep. Yes, you can.
Yeah, you still got to be polite about it. But I mean, you try. It doesn't mean that people read. It's like the teacher always said, good student, but does not follow directions.
There you go.
That sort of thing. Oh.
So, no, it's on. I try, and I know it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Because, honestly, if you're putting together a thing, it's... nobody wants to read through pages of text to figure out what things are. If you can ask a simple question, I think maybe I should just hide my email better.
Oh,
because apparently people are contacting me without trying.
That's an interesting point, because they'll try to find your email, and maybe they'll come across more information or something like that.
Before you email me, just so you know. Yes, you can use this. Mm-hmm. Yes, here's how to do it. And by the way, I'm dealing with a lot of people that are English as a second language from Portugal, Brazil, Spain, Poland, Russia, wherever. Yeah,
and in those countries, it's actually very important for them not to be using something in some situations that has copyright.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've had many stories of people on here who have told us just how much more different it is in other countries just to play licensed music and things that can happen.
That's why I'm big in Malaysia.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. That's where is that? I'm trying to picture that. See, Doug is the geography guy, and he's usually here to tell me where that is. So I'm gonna have to. Do you know? Is that?
I'm guessing somewhere in the Pacific-ish.
Yeah. No, we'll see. I'm sure I'll get an email from Doug when this comes out.
Australia. Did I get that completely wrong?
Maybe. I was going to say near North Carolina.
I think I'm closer.
Okay. We're not going to do the Price is Right, like, I can bet $1, and then, if I don't go over, then I'm right. I don't know how that would apply here, but, I guess mile-wise, we could say, oh, yeah, we could measure it. We can measure it to see who's closer.
Yeah, it is indeed north of Australia, south of China. So right between Australia and China.
Okay.
I didn't get that one wrong.
Well done.
God.
That was gonna keep me up all night.
I know.
I was gonna be like, did I say that right?
But apparently they have a very aggressive music rights management governmental sub-arm. And so, like, I am in a lot of stores. I'm in a lot of like spas and relaxation places. Like, lots of people use me there. I don't know. Well, I guess I do know why.
Yeah.
Because they're very aggressive in Malaysia.
Now, when you first said stores, I thought you meant like physically your stuff was in stores. But you're saying that it plays in the background over the radio. It's played
in background music in restaurants and shops.
Okay. Do you actually put out any physical releases, or do you mainly just write? You don't?
I do not.
Oh, wow. I don't know if we've ever had it. Well, no. I guess in this digital age, that's the way it is. It's just that some people release as albums.
Yeah. The last thing I released, like, physically was in 1998.
Wow. Is that still available?
I doubt it. I have no more copies of it, so.
Okay. You haven't gotten a call from CD Baby saying that their stock in the warehouse is running low?
I have not.
I'm just assuming that you put it through CD Baby. Back in 1998, it was like the only option.
It didn't exist back then.
Oh, it didn't? I thought it did around that time. I can't remember when I first sent CDs to CD Baby, which I thought was so... I felt like it was overkill in the sense where it's like, well, why don't they just tell me to ship it? Instead of me sending it to them and they ship it? I don't know. I don't question it anymore, but and now you don't really need to. With the way the internet is. And then, because so you release stuff in video. You release videos as that. Now, while you're working, are these things that are parts of the projects that you're working on, or do you actually have a working library that you don't release and a personal one that you do release?
Wow, I don't understand the question, but I'm trying hard.
I realized as I was saying it, I was like, am I making this clear? So,
Okay.
so you work on projects, but you also put stuff on your site.
Yeah.
So are those part of the projects you're working on, or is it like your own personal thing that like you do in your off time?
Some of them are projects that I work on for other people, and some of them are things that I just do.
Okay. All right. So you actually, with the amount of work that it sounds that you do, I was just wondering if you still had time to kind of dabble, or if what you're doing actually is really more of the, the creativity sort of, you're getting your creativity fix from doing that is what I was wondering.
I'm getting my creativity fix from what now?
From as a musician, I'm just saying. I know. I don't know why. Even as I'm saying it, I'm like, I know what I want to say, but it's not making any sense.
I'm sorry.
No. That's all right. It's totally me, and I know that it's me as I'm saying it. So when like a musician writes stuff, like I write stuff just because it's like I have this idea and I want to get it out. But with the volume of work that you do, I was just curious, like, do you use up all your ideas for the work that you're doing? But
oh God, no.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Like, I'm sure. Like, how big is the library of ideas that you have in your head? Is kind of what I'm getting at.
It seems to have no end. That the ideas are easy. The execution is hard.
That sounds like a quote from somebody. I mean, it's from you right now. It was, but it sounds like I wanted to like say like tag it Winston Churchill, or something like that. It seemed like something that would be on a shirt or like emblazoned on top of a picture on Facebook or something.
Okay, this has been said many times before.
Oh, okay, it has.
Yeah, I'm looking. There's references in Forbes.
Wow, I wonder where it originated from. I knew it sounded like a familiar thing.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously. So, like, even given a very specific task, it's like we need to make an ominous yet fun introduction for a game that we have, which is kind of like, Animal Farm totalitarianism, but a little weird, a little quirky. There's so many ways that you can make that happen. And it's my job to just take the 1,000 things that are in my head and find the best ones and implement those. Yeah.
And with that vague of direction, I love that. It's the age-old adage that nobody's really sure what they need until they see or hear it. And then they're like, oh, now I know what I meant to tell you.
There you go.
Yeah, the reason that I was kind of wondering that too is because a friend of mine was tasked with recording an artist who had a song that he wanted to release. And the artist kind of said, okay, this is my song, but I mean, it's not entirely the same thing. But he's like, I want to do something really different with it. And he just basically said, so here's the song. And he had vocals and a piano line. And he basically said, okay, now do something really different with it. And kind of left and is kind of just like, well, what do you want me to do? I don't know. Make it kind of obscure and funky. And that was the last that he heard. And now he's supposed to come back with some sort of idea. So he's coming up with all these creative ideas, but at the same time too, he's kind of using them all in the project. And I'm hearing him do things and I'm like going, why don't you and I work on that particular idea instead of you giving it to him? So that's the part that I feel like could be hard.
Yeah, I was going to go with theremin and tuba.
Oh, I love it.
I would go for.
That would be a total juxtaposition of sounds. Either that or, I mean, I'm sure Ray Bradbury's used it in something.
Yeah, it could have happened.
I recently just saw, I've been rewatching, not to go off on a tangent a little bit here, but I've been rewatching Alfred Hitchcock. It just came on Netflix. And I've been realizing Ray Bradbury actually wrote a bunch of episodes of Alfred Hitchcock. And every time I tell people...
Oh, Alfred Hitchcock Presents.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the old one with him in the beginning and the good evening, that whole...
Yeah, the March of the Marionettes, I believe is the theme tune for that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that actually makes sense now that you say it. The actual intro theme you're saying.
Yep.
Oh.
That one, yeah.
Nice. And then, that makes me wonder here too. Now, in listening to your stuff, have you ever used sampling, or do you always do everything from scratch?
I use almost everything I do is sampling.
I mean looping. I misspoke. Do you ever use like looped samples, like stuff that's been kind of pre-done, or do you program drums?
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly like shakers. Shakers are really hard to do in MIDI, and I can't figure out why. So I'll absolutely use shakers on loops. There's a couple of other things that I will do a loop as a go-to for.
Using shakers on MIDI is actually very ironic, because doing them regular, it's hard to keep them in time. So I find that strange.
Yeah, it's because so I'm miming a shaker right now, which nobody.
You're doing a very good job.
But so when you're actually doing it, you have to start the motion to do a shaker so far ahead of the beat. Like, it doesn't feel right when you're playing it on a keyboard to start that action so far before the hit needs to happen. So you've got your initial go-to, and then you have the stop that you do, which gives it the percussive bit. And they're just really they're remarkably hard to do in MIDI. Because, other instruments that are hard to do, saxophones and harmonicas. Shakers does not sound as complicated as a saxophone or a harmonica, but yet they're really not easy to do.
Yeah, there are, oddly enough, oboe always sounds proper, though. I have noticed if you pull up oboe, it sounds like an oboe.
Yeah, I can do oboes pretty good.
Do oboes like nobody's business.
Oboes and English horns. Love the English horn.
Oh, yeah.
It's like an oboe plus. It's just like a little bit bigger, but it's not as big as a bassoon.
It makes me wonder if it's because you don't hear them often enough, so you're kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that's what that sounds like. Whereas like saxophones and things like that, it's like, I've heard one recently and I know that that's not a saxophone. No, the saxophone MIDI sound does not sound right now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, saxophone MIDI is, there's like, you can get like a good, like a baritone, staccato, do 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 do. You can do that. But saxophone is just so expressive. We've just barely got a really good expressive violin now. So I'm hoping in the next 3-4 years, someone will come out with a really good saxophone.
And it's interesting, too, that there's been a resurgence of 80s keyboard sounds. So does that help at all? I saw you posted, I think this is the same video I was talking about earlier, but you got like that kind of spooky detective-y feel thing there that you posted on your site. And it's kind of got some just regular keyboard sounds on it. And I was like, oh, I'm digging on that. I know we're both trying to see who can pull it up faster to see what song.
I'm looking it up.
Deadly Roulette.
Yep.
That's the one
that was a film noir sort of thing. I think it's just vibraphone, bass, and guitar with some snapping.
Yeah.
And which may or may not have been real snapping.
I was just going to say, that's another thing that sounds okay on MIDI. Actually, that's the other thing, too. Live sounds of like claps and snaps never seem to work the way that you think they're going to, that you've heard them in other things, so maybe those are better as MIDI or not. I don't know.
Yeah, well, production is hard. That's another one of those things. So.
Yes, it is. Oh, man. So with all this work that you do, how did you even get started in Creative Commons? So you actually do this for people. You do it quite a bit. So what made you decide to actually make your music under Creative Commons?
Well, I'd started giving away my music for free before I found out about Creative Commons. And then when I found out about it, this was just amazing. So I just retro licensed all of the things that I had put. So I started doing it because I've been writing scores for a couple of films, and I would get a lot of rejected cues because, unsurprisingly, when I started out, I wasn't real good. So directors would go, nope, that's wrong. That is completely wrong. And I'd be like, oh, but it's a really good piece of music. Well, maybe somebody else can use it. And I'll just put it up on my site for free because they didn't pay for it. They didn't use it, whatever. And and then Creative Commons sort of came along, and I just sort of glommed onto that.
How did you hear about it when it first came out? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people, especially who have done it since its inception, kind of heard about it sort of sideways from, not sideways, but sort of as a result of Napster. And everybody, like a lot of musicians were like, I can put my stuff on Napster and people can, all over the world can get it for free. And I mean, that's what I did. The first time I heard about it, I uploaded all my stuff to Napster and shared it with everybody. And
that's cool.
Yeah. And that's how I ended up finding out about it. Cause I'm like, well, why wouldn't I want people to have my music? That's just silly. You know, everybody was complaining about Napster, and it's just like, hey, somebody in China just downloaded my album, so shut up.
Yeah. Yes. Go China.
Yes. It's funny. You still get people that have that hang around like since the beginning, since you give your stuff away. I mean, do you still have people that contact you that you've known for a long time about your music?
Possibly. Yeah.
Okay.
Possibly. I have a terrible memory, and I apologize to all of my super fans.
Well, see, that's okay, because usually I rely on the guest having a good memory. So both of us have poor memories. So this works out splendidly.
Oh, we can have the same conversation next week.
Yeah, we could. I mean, this may all be an exact mirror of the last time we had you on the show. Who knows?
I don't know.
Although you wouldn't have had the hue to turn on your lights.
3 years ago? Yeah, I think I might have.
Really?
But I was living in New York at the time, so.
Where are you right now?
I'm in Wisconsin right now.
Wait, you and I are in the same town right now? Or same state?
Yeah.
Are you in Madison?
No, I'm in Green Bay.
Oh, you're farther up north. You're where the accent is.
Oh yeah, I can bring that if you want.
Funny story. The first time I actually went to play a show in Green Bay, we got lost. And, and I was, you don't realize, okay, so I'm in Madison and it's, college town. So the accent isn't necessarily as strong around here because you get a lot of people from out of town. We went to Green Bay, we got lost, and we see a lady walking by wearing a Packers jacket. And we go, hey, do you know where whatever club it was we were going to is? She's like, oh yeah. She was like full on accent to the point where I was like, oh my God, there it is. But it was awesome. Anyway, yeah. So I did not know you were in Wisconsin.
Yep.
What brings you back here?
A lot of different things, family issues and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. And then I guess I wanted to ask, and I know that we talked about this on the last show, but I want to bring it up again because I can't remember. The graph paper. What's the graph paper?
Oh, the graph paper.
On your site. So for people who are listening now, he has a section that's called Get Started with Graph Paper, and just basically says you need some graph paper. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, so one day, 1997-ish, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I was at home and I needed some graph paper, and none of the stores were open, but I had all the tools. It's like, I know how to program. I can make a thing that makes graph paper. Mm-hmm. And I made myself some graph paper. I don't remember what it was for. But I needed graph paper at the time. And so I made some graph paper and then printed it out. And then I said, oh, maybe somebody else would need to make graph paper at some point. They would be in the same situation that I am, where they're in a city where there's no store open at 3 a.m. to buy graph paper. And so I did that. And there's hundreds of thousands of people a month come.
Really?
To get graph paper. Yeah.
That was going to be my next question.
It's probably on the decline right now. The music is definitely on the upswing, but man, there's a lot of people that came for graph paper for a long time. That was back when people had like printers.
Mm-hmm.
and printed things out and like had pencils and pens and stuff, that's getting to be less and less.
That's true. Yeah. And even needing to, I mean, I'm sure there's like an app or something that you can do. Well, no, for writing graph paper, I mean, that's people I know use it for math and things much smarter than I am. But yeah, that's interesting. I was wondering if it was still getting some traffic.
Yeah, probably. I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I still maintain it. When things break, I fix them.
What did you build it in to actually make this graph paper? You said you were programming it.
It's built in Perl.
Wow, you went really hardcore with it. Oh my God.
And the Perl outputs a PDF, which, yeah, it's good.
Man, writing it in C++ or whatever. I'm just going to name like a bunch of old programming things that I don't know.
No, I don't actually know C++.
Oh, okay. Good. Because then I'd feel stupid.
Yeah, it seems difficult to me.
Wow.
No, I like Perl. I'm building a lot more things in JavaScript these days. So.
Okay. Not in Java, but in JavaScript.
JavaScript, right?
Okay, all right. I always get those two confused just because of the...
Well, you should. Because the assholes who... Sorry, can we swear a lot?
Yeah, you can. Go ahead.
The assholes who named JavaScript just screwed everything up for everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Java. No. It's a very different language. And now, I mean, it's a super robust, brilliant language.
Mm-hmm. It has gotten better as far as that type of stuff. And it's better... Okay. I'm going to get a little nerdy here with you too. So I'm a front end guy and I'm the guy, I'm the guy that has to make things look blue. And I also have to work with, I'll take some of the easier tasks that back end developers, like creating drop downs for navigation menus and things like that. You don't have to spend hours and hours doing that anymore. But, as far as Java goes, would they please build a new UI library? I am so sick of redesigning that every time somebody wants to build some sort of software thing.
Are you using Swing or something?
No, they're just jQuery UI or whatever the heck.
JavaScript. You said Java.
Oh, did I? See, there we go.
Damn it! This is a problem. I think you said Java.
I probably did. Well, because then there's also, I've had to work with ext. No, that's JS too. Shoot. No, I meant JavaScript. I may have said Java. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, regardless, JavaScript needs to fix that because they've got all this new neat stuff that it does, and they've got all these like sub-languages, and there's Node.js that you can build things up on, and you can run the thing on Grunt or Gulp or whatever, do all this neat stuff. And then all these back-end developers go, and then we'll just download jQuery UI, and then we don't have to design it. And it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Okay, sorry, mini rant right there.
No. By the way, I fucking love jQuery.
I just hate jQuery UI.
We're going to argue about this.
Oh, wow.
But wait, it is so nice. Anyway, that has very little to do with...
Something weird just happened. There's music playing on your site.
That's not my
weird.
Music.
No, but it was coming from... I was on your graph paper page and music started playing.
That shouldn't happen.
That shouldn't happen.
I don't have any audio enabled ads or anything.
Right. No, that was, and I had it on for a while, so I don't know why it started. Maybe I clicked something. Who knows? Yeah. But for people listening at home, they got a nice little piano line just started playing. Anyway. Okay. And then one more question I wanted to ask is, so we were talking about when you got into Creative Commons. Now, how are you able to actually, sell the work even though you give your stuff away for free? I mean, just people so how do you go about that process of actually becoming someone who can get paid for doing the work as well? For other musicians out there.
I just make it available. So I sell quite a lot through iTunes. And the things that you get through iTunes, you can get for free on my website. Mm-hmm. But people buy them through iTunes. Maybe it's convenience. I don't know. I resisted that for a lot of years. I'm like, nobody's going to go. And I was like, it's so much effort for me to list stuff over on these websites. No one's going to bother going to buy stuff there when they can get the exact same product for free. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it turns out they do. And they get it through Amazon. The streaming services, I don't know. I think maybe I make, between 50 and 80 cents a month on those guys. But yeah, people still buy music, and that's really weird. And then I do offer a super value added stuff, like super high quality downloads of all my new pieces, and like here, and you get like, here's the full mix. Maybe I'll give you it in a couple different tempos. Here's just the bass line. Here's just the percussion 1, percussion 2. So that if you want, you can make your own mixes on things. And people, I've seemed to like that quite a lot, especially the filmmakers and video game people. Mm-hmm. So they can, take a 3-minute piece and make it into a 17-minute piece that just adds very slowly.
Okay. And so these gamers are the game people, but they also pay you to do this stuff too when they hire you to do this stuff. And this is just because of the word of mouth. And then they're like, well, we want to pay you to do this instead of just using your music.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they have a very specific idea of something that needs to happen, which I have not done.
No.
And so then, yeah, it goes from, free to money. Mm-hmm. But, I'm happy to help.
And the main reason I ask is for other musicians listening. And when I try to explain Creative Commons to other bands, they're always like, well, why isn't that just you give it away for free? And it's not that easy. They're that simple. I mean, but the, when they ask you to do something more specific, do they ever go, well, can't you just do it for free like you do the other stuff?
Oh, yeah. Actually, that happens all the time.
Okay. And your response? How do you respond to a question like that?
No. if you want, because there are people. I mean, this happens all the time. People are like, "I'm starting up a YouTube channel. I want to have some great music. I love your stuff. I've been listening to it for years, and I want to have exclusive rights to a brand new composition to start up my channel." I'm like, "Okay, here is the quote," and they're like, "I don't have any money." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, you can use anything that's on the website already for free. And they're like, yeah, but I want something new. I'm like, okay, let's go back to the quote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the orchestrating it for a specific purpose is when it becomes something that you have to take the time and effort instead of something that's just readily available that they can use like off the shelf.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It does take a lot of time.
Exactly.
Music.
Yeah. And to make it the way they want.
Right.
Yeah. That makes a lot more sense. I don't know why I don't know why it's always been so hard for me to explain that to people when they're like, well, what do you do if people actually want to use your stuff for a movie? And it's like,
well, then they use it for a movie.
Yeah. And if they want to do more, then we would make it for them and they would pay us. And people are like, well, much like your iTunes thing, they're like, well, why would they want to do that then if we're already giving it away?
Yeah. Oh, but you know what? Look at it this way. Giving your music away is the best money you can spend marketing ever. Mm-hmm. If you, well, I'm not typical, but let's assume I am. So if you could have your music in, let's say, like even 10,000 YouTube videos where, so you figure like millions of views overall, how much would you have to pay a marketing company to get placement in all of those videos so that more people heard your music? And then, you know what? The people who like your music are going to be the people who like your music. Mm-hmm. You can just get it out in front of as many people as you can, and then your audience will find you. So it's really the cheapest marketing you can do because it's basically free. Mm-hmm. Just give your stuff away. You're going to be miles ahead of everyone else who is, clutching on to their precious creativeness. And more people will hear your stuff, and that's why you're making music in the first place. You're making music so that people hear it. You're not making music to make money. You're making music to affect the brains of other human beings. That's why we do this. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
Yeah, no, that's good. And oddly enough, it made me think of, have you ever seen the movie Big Eyes?
I haven't.
It was the Tim Burton movie about the artist that did the the disturbing child paintings with the giant eyes in like the 1970s or late 60s.
Okay.
And in the movie, and I didn't know this, he basically, because people would come to this shop and this is in relation to what you were saying, kind of, they would come to the shop to see these pictures, and he got this idea where he would, they would make flyers for it, and people just started taking the flyers. It was advertisements for the actual shop, and people would just start taking those, and he noticed that, and he's like, oh my God, why don't we send these all over the country, and people can just look at those? And that's how they got more exposure, and more people learned about it, is because they like basically made these flyers into just prints of the actual artwork. And it's kind of like what you're saying with the, with that sort of exposure. And then, we just had one more thing. We're going to wrap things up here real quick because I don't want to keep you online for too long. No
worries.
We're going to close with a song, and I didn't have one. So is there a song you'd like to choose? Usually Doug picks one. What song would you like us to close the show with today?
You know what? It's a couple years old, but I really like Call to Adventure. Call to Adventure.
All right. And then,
excellent piece.
And do you want to just say a little something about it, what they're going to hear?
Yeah, this is a piece of music that I wrote when I got angry. I was watching an episode of Portlandia. I believe it was the brunch episode of Portlandia.
Okay.
And the soundtrack was brilliant. And I got mad. Like, damn it! Why didn't they hire me to do this? It's like, because I've never written anything like that. And so I was trying to out Portlandia with this one, and it has become very highly used since then. So yeah, I need to get more pissed off at composers.
I love it. A song out of spite.
Oh yeah, no, those are always the best ones.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's very light and fluffy and happy and that, but yeah, it was definitely composed out of spite, because I was so mad that the composer did that so well.
That's funny. Now I got to try and find the episode that you're talking about and compare it.
Brunch episode.
Oh man. Well, Kevin, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show today. It was great talking with you again.
Thanks for having me on.
And here is Call to Adventure by Kevin MacLeod. And this has been another Music Manument podcast at musicmanument.com.